I love Poppins. So the story is P.L. Travers is in London. She doesn't want to sell Mary Poppins to the Disney organisation or to Disney because she thinks that he's going to Disneyfy it. On the other hand, financial imperatives loom, that she needs the money, basically. So what happens is that the story concentrates on the couple of weeks that she spends. She goes out to Burbank, out to where Disney are. And Disney is played by Tom Hanks. P.L. Travers is played by Emma Thompson. Meanwhile, the film itself spirals back into her life in Australia, her relationship with her father, played by Colin Farrell, who was a banker and somebody who had a terrible alcohol problem, and it tries to find in the backstory the roots of the story of Mary Poppins. And of course, as anyone knows from seeing the trailer and the title of Saving Mr. Banks, the central sort of thesis is that Mary Poppins isn't about the kids; it's about Mr. Banks. And this is something which is this is a sort of well-worn theory, and it's absolutely true. If you know the movie at all, you're very aware of the fact that it's about Mr. Banks. Mr. Banks, the guy who works in a bank. Mr. Guy, the guy about whom Bert says, "I hate to see a man in a cage." And they say, "What, Daddy, in a cage?" He says, "Yeah, well, they make cages in all shapes and sizes, bank shaped, some of them. Surrounded and trapped in by cold, hard money." And the whole film is about Mr. Banks having to throw off the shackles of yesterday.
So he can go and fly a kite.
So he can go fly a kite,
yeah.
Exactly. And fans of Mary Poppins will know this anyway. So what you have to do, essentially, is because we all know the outcome, we all know what happens in the end, is that Mary Poppins gets made, and it's a wonderful film, although in real life Travers never liked it and didn't want to have anything more to do with it, and did it for the money. So there's a certain amount of sort of sprinkling of fairy dust on the story, but essentially the meat of it is that she's there in the Disney sort of headquarters, being on the one hand wooed, but with quite steely resolve by Tom Hanks's Disney, who, yes, he's avuncular, yes, he's twinkly, yes, he's magical. But on the other hand, he gets what he wants, and he's not somebody to be messed with lightly. On the other hand, you have the Shermans doing these sort of writing these beautiful songs, and this entire team attempting to create what is, in my opinion, one of the 10 greatest movies ever made. And Emma Thompson being absolutely brilliantly haughty, crotchety, chippy, snippy about the fact that she doesn't like any of it. Here's a clip.
What's happening? What are you doing?
All right, ladies and gents, comical poem suitable for the occasion, extemporized and thought up before your very eyes. All right, here we go.
Room here for everyone, gather around. The constable's responsible. Now, how does that sound?
No. Responsible is not a word.
We made it up.
Well, unmake it up.
And I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard that clip because that is the clip that's been going around, but it is lovely, and it kind of, in a way, sums up the charm of the film. At the very end of the film, there is a tape of Travers at one of those meetings, and you realise that Emma Thompson isn't making it up. She really was being that sort of snippy and chippy with them.
Can I just interject, at this point, does Mary Poppins come into the category that we were looking for earlier? Obviously extremely famous in terms of female role models.
Yeah, of course. Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And well observed. Thank you. That's exactly the case. So the thing is that obviously there's a certain amount of liberty taking with only a certain amount in terms of having to find a reconciliation between Disney and Travers, and the screenplay does a very nice line of sort of walking just close enough to the truth and just close enough to the invention, and looking back and drawing kind of to some extent kind of cod philosophical. This is the father figure. This is the the role model of Poppins. This is where this came from, but does so in a way which is very populist, and that's absolutely fine. I have no problem with that at all. And even though some people say, well, this she never ever reconciled with Poppins, although there is a suggestion in the film that there is a sort of reconciliation. It doesn't matter, because the fact of the matter is Mary Poppins is a brilliant film, no matter what P.L. Travers thought of it. It doesn't matter. I mean, in the end, they didn't make it for her; they made it for me. And I think what's so great about the film, firstly, Emma Thompson is terrific. I mean, she is really, really terrific. She gets every laugh line in the script, but all the time you get this sense that there's something more. She's not just playing this kind of caricatured, haughty, bossy, school teachery, ungrateful person. All the time you get a sense that there is real passion, there is something really, really important that she's hanging on to, and that she's genuinely scared of losing, and she's genuinely scared of breaking, and she doesn't trust them, and she doesn't actually want anything to be done to her creation. And the film is quite clear that the reason she's there is because she needs the money, and it is in the end a financial transaction. Some people have said, well, because it's the Disney organisation, obviously they're going to go soft on Walt, although that's not because the script started outside and was then brought on board by by Disney, and apparently the main Disney stipulation was we don't want him smoking on screen. At one point he snubs a cigarette out off screen, but that's a Disney policy about smoking, and incidentally, fine, all good for that. But you do see him, as a man who takes a drink and a man who drives a hard bargain, and somebody he's said, I've promised my children I'm going to make this film. I've made a promise and I'm going to make this film, and what do I have to do to make it work? And I think that it's played actually in a way which is just the right amount of levity and just the right amount of depth. And what you get is a story which, as I said, gestures very broadly towards the general psychological background and in finding specifics in a way that, that enables you to feel, oh, I'm spotting a clue there. I'm matching that up. I'm doing, I can see where that's coming from. I can see. But the real central heart of it is that Thompson's performance is it's like somebody, hitting a tuning fork, and it rings true. Every minute she's on screen, you think, what I love about this is that I believe that you're slightly scary and slightly standoffish. I also believe that you're passionate about this thing that you're trying to defend. I believe that you're funny, even though perhaps sometimes you don't think you're something. There's a lovely bit when she goes into the hotel room, the first one when she goes into the hotel room, and there are just, Disney has filled the room up with Disney toys. And she gets Mickey Mouse and stuffing him in the cupboard, and oh, for heaven's sake. And then later on, there's a moment of sort of embracing one of the Disney toys, and it's sort of seen as a kind of, as a finding a way into the Disney magic. And of course, you've all seen from the trailers that Disney takes her to Disney. I said, who wouldn't want to go to Disneyland with Walt Disney? And of course, as she was saying in that interview last week, she went to Disneyland with her father, Eric Thompson, which must have been the most sublime experience. But I think the thing is, it's often easy to look at comic performances and underrate. People often, when people are sort of winning Oscars and that sort of thing, it's big suffering performances. It's absolutely true. The best way of winning an Oscar is to do something that involves massive amount of suffering, and comic performances are often taken less seriously. The precision involved in this, because the reason the jokes are funny is because you actually believe that underlying them is a real three-dimensional living, breathing character who you care about, who you understand. Despite, people who worked with Travers on the film said she was just impossible. Emma Thompson herself said she was eye-wateringly complex and contradictory. And said that the Shermans were reduced to tears because they'd come up with these just these wonderful songs and these fantastic musical sequences. And she said, "I'm not, no, in cartoons."
And why?
Penguins.
Do we know why she reacted like that?
Because she didn't get the film. The honest truth of it is that quite often, the authors of books are not the best at judging whether a film of their book is any good, particularly because films change what's in the book. The classic case is Stephen King never liked the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining because it's not his book. And in fact, there's a TV version later on in which he thinks is better, but it clearly isn't. The fact is that I'm not the world's biggest fan of the Stanley Kubrick film The Shining, but it's a great film regardless of whether or not it's Stephen King's book. But Stephen King can't get over the fact that it's not his book. It's Stanley Kubrick. And Walt Disney's Mary Poppins is Walt Disney's Mary Poppins. And Walt Disney's Mary Poppins is the thing that I fell in love with. Because I think as a film it's perfect. But obviously she's so closely connected to the thing that she's created. There's all this stuff about they're saying, our beloved Mary. She's Mary Poppins, never just Mary Poppins. And all the way through, considering the level of hectoring that's involved in this, what's brilliant is that you never lose sympathy. You understand Walt's sense of desperation when he says, what do I have to do? Tell me what I have to do. And so it's funny and it's witty and it's charming and it will leave you with a smile on your face. And if you love Mary Poppins as I do, the film of Mary Poppins as I do, I think it'll leave you with a feeling that it's made by people who love the film too. And Emma Thompson's performance is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I watched the whole thing with a smile on my face, and I'm going to go and see it again over the weekend. And that's that.